What's up, everybody? Great Lakes here, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and holidays. So today we're going to discuss and introduce you guys to Trent Gazzaro, and we're going to start off with something that happened 10 years ago at the Land O'Lakes Jail in Pasco, Florida. Now, why are we discussing something from 10 years ago? It's not like this is new information. The CEO that beat the crap out of this guy in jail for aggressively sitting up in his cell is important because it leads to what's been going on with Trent since then. Trent's got some medical conditions from the beating he took, like PTSD, which has caused agoraphobia or fear of leaving the home. And what is important for him to feel comfortable leaving his home? And then what's been happening recently will be coming up in another video. We're going to, kind of 2, 3, 4 step this video because there's a lot of information here and there's a lot of lack of information here. These agencies that are involved, hospitals, aren't releasing records to him or his family. The jails, some of the jail information is out there, but being 10 years old, it's kind of hard to find the information anymore. And then what's happening in Arkansas to him now is pretty difficult to, one, get the correct information because they have server problems when uploading their body camera footage, or this officer just wasn't wearing one. So it's a battle, and it's going to take a while to get this information all out there, but we're going to start leaning on them a little bit. We're going to lean on them with the court of public opinion. So, all right, guys, let's introduce you to Trent.
At Land O'Lakes Detention Center, I was placed in a mental psych area. They call it J-Wing. In J-Wing, you don't get to have clothes or any objects or anything. You're just in a room. This guard just, one Christmas, around 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, opened the door and tried to kill me. I didn't do anything to this man, and he tried to kill me. And if it wasn't for the cameras, I might not have survived. This guy, I don't know what his problem was. I don't know. I didn't even get to go to court. But he grabbed me by my neck and tried to choke me out, and I grabbed his thumb and I pulled it off. I grabbed his microphone as he's punching me in the side of the head, and I asked for help. Officers arrived, thinking it was an officer who needed help. Instead, they seen this man punching me. They grabbed a hold of him, and as far as I know, they arrested him on the spot, took all his uniform off, and booked him in the same jail as myself.
All right, so there we have what happened to Trent at the Land O'Lakes Jail in Pasco, Florida, in his own words. You also see the news article, one of the news articles, there's a whole bunch of them out there, on what Philip Bruce Walters, Philip with one L, Philip Bruce Walters did to Trent Gazzaro 10 years ago today. This is the 10-year anniversary of the beating. That beating kind of set off a lot of issues for Trent. More so the PTSD and the agoraphobia. The agoraphobia, was a little bit going on and set in a little bit more later on when a beating that messed up his pancreas really affected him, and it just increased the effects of the PTSD and the fear of being around basically anything in public. His body camera, talking to him, I've talked to him quite a few times. His body camera for him is like, it's almost like a comfort blanket, a comfort device that says, hey, we got you, you're okay, so if anything happens, it's on record. Well, now here's Trent's own words about what happened when he tried to record his own medical treatment at St. Bernard's Hospital.
I can't leave my front door. I can't. I'm afraid to go to the doctors. I can't go to the hospital because while I was at St. Bernard's Hospital in Jonesboro, Arkansas, 2 officers, they were sheriff's department. The first one was a lady. She came in. She said, "You're not allowed to record." And I said, "I'm recording my medical circumstance, and now that you're here, I have even more reason to record." She forcefully turned off that camera. About an hour later, the hospital states to me that I have to stay in the hospital, that they need to do tests and find out what's wrong with me. As that doctor left, an officer came in. This guy's 6'4", 350 pounds of just bigness, yelling at me, saying that I need to turn off my camera.
So let's pause right here and look at a statement from Deputy Mandy McDaniel. This is from the police report, the incident report, I should say. Around 2:55 p.m., Deputy Mike Lawrence arrived at the hospital to start his shift at 3 p.m. I informed him about the situation that had occurred earlier about the patient in room 3 being Trent. Deputy Lawrence and I went to room 3 to check to see if he was still recording the nurse while 2 officers were there. Now, they went to go check. No one said he was recording still, so it means he stopped, right? We walked in, and before we could even speak to Gazzaro, started yelling. He started yelling and questioning why we were in his room. Rightfully so, though no issues recording. And by the way, his battery in his body cam has died at this point. It's dead. So he couldn't have recorded if he wanted to. Gazzaro was instructed again about the hospital policy with recording. He immediately jumped up, went to the corner of the room where Baltzell, being Barb, his nurse, was sitting, as well as the camera, the dead camera. Gazzaro was visibly distraught. Now listen to this description. Gazzaro was visibly distraught by his body physically shaking, as well as perspiration dripping from his face. Baltzell began talking loudly, trying to get his attention so he could calm down. Gazzaro was appearing to have a mental breakdown because they were there. All right. They were what was causing his, setting off his PTSD. Baltzell could not get him to calm down for her either. Baltzell was told to get out of the room and out of the way of the nurses and officers. For Gazzaro's safety as well as the nurses, we instructed him to place his hands behind his back so we could place handcuffs on his wrist. He continued to yell, not listening to commands from Deputy Lawrence or myself. After multiple times of instructing him to place his hands behind his back, Gazzaro put his hands up, and I was able to place a cuff on his left wrist. I was attempting to gain control of his right wrist, and Gazzaro began pulling his left wrist away from me in an attempt to break free from my custody. The nurse was in the process of removing his IV out of his arm. She was able to get the IV out of his arm and get away. While attempting to gain control of the left wrist with the cuff, Gazzaro was still pulling against me. Deputy Lawrence deployed his taser into Gazzaro, contacting his chest. Gazzaro fell into the chair. Now this is important. She has never said he was in the chair at this point, any time before this. But here she says Gazzaro fell into the chair and then onto the floor. I was able to gain control of his right wrist, place handcuff on it. As soon as his hands were secured, the nurse rendered aid to Gazzaro's chest and arm from where the IV was removed. At this time, we were still trying to calm him down. We were able to sit him up and get him on the bed. After several minutes, Gazzaro started to calm down very little, but understood we would uncuff him if he would settle down. Gazzaro calmed down enough to where the nurses didn't feel threatened by him any longer, and I was able to remove the handcuffs. Deputy Lawrence and myself spoke with the doctor and agreed that he needed help and that being arrested was not going to be the help that he needed, right? Of course, who needs that kind of help? Gazzaro agreed that he would calm down and not be a threat to himself or the nurses. Now, I'm going to show you a little video clip that was the video that led up to all of this where it got turned off. And the nurses didn't feel threatened. They actually seemed a little empowered, a little bold, in charge kind of behavior, not those that felt threatened. And their whole beef is it's a HIPAA issue. And I understand it was a shared room. I've spoken with Trent about that. He understands it's a shared room. But because of the issues that he's had with officers abusing him, like what happened here, he records for his own safety. So let's watch this clip.
That side, I have no cups. I have no reason for a police officer.
Well, the body cam does not need to be on at any time.
Ma'am, you can't go against HIPAA.
Yes, I can. You're going against him because there's another patient
Well,
here
you
that's
need to
getting
put me in
medical
a private
attention.
room. The camera is for my own safety.
Okay. Either you
Because
turn
I
the camera
have been
off or I'm going to
abused.
confiscate it.
And you touch that camera, and you're going to have a lawsuit on you.
That's perfectly
You will
fine.
lose. No, you're going to lose your. No. You know what? No. No. No.
Trent?
No. I will not. I won't. I will be
Trent?
protected. I will
Okay.
be protected.
Calm
I will
down.
be protected.
Calm down.
Turn that camera on.
It's
It's on? Okay.
come on.
No. You have no right, no right, no right. I already know the law. You cannot touch that camera. No.
Sit down in the bed.
No.
Yes.
Trent, please.
Why do they have an officer in here? My PTSD, you know better. Get away from me.
He's been assaulted by officers.
Get away from me.
before, so-
Get away from me. You have no reason to be here.
Yeah.
Get away from me. You have no reason to be here.
It's okay.
Get away from me. You have no
Trent?
reason to be here.
Trent?
Get away from me. You have no reason to be here.
I'm going to be back in here and check
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay.
You have no reason to be here.
Okay. Come
HIPAA
on.
law says
Sit
that I
down.
can do it, and I can do it
Come
privately.
On. Come on. Sit
Oh.
down.
Don't you turn that camera off. Don't you turn that camera off.
You can't record me without my permission.
I can record anything that has to do with HIPAA or my mental or my physical. I can. I've already done it. I've talked to a lawyer. Try me.
Not
Trent,
without
I need
my
to turn it
permission.
off anyway. The battery's
No.
gone dead and I don't have a cord.
Then I need to be recorded. These people are trying to hurt me.
I've started you an IV. I've given you pain medicine.
Uh.
I'm treating you. I'm monitoring you.
It's okay. It's okay, Trent.
You have no reason.
So you see at the tail end of that video, Trent was already like worked up, right? Already visibly upset. You could hear it in his voice. You could hear the fear, the anxiety. You can hear the absolute desire to be away from Mandy McDaniel. But then towards the end of it, you hear the nurses coming in. I'm going to give you an IV. We're going to take care of you, blah, blah, blah. There was no fear in their voices there. They weren't scared of him. They were not scared of him at all. So, as you heard Barbara say, like, hey, you know what? The battery's almost dead. I didn't bring a cord, so it can't, I should just turn off anyways. Those nurses were not scared of him. At least not in that video. So, and you heard her say it's a HIPAA issue. And you've seen that it was a shared room, so understandably so. But, you can record your own treatments. It's just the issues with the other people in there. So, he asked for, well, give me a private room then. Before they would even address that situation, it just escalated to the point to where violence ensued. And not by Trent's part. So now we're going to listen to Trent talk about the rest of this.
You've already turned it off. So I didn't know at that point that my camera was turned off, but apparently it was turned off. And this guy is like, you need to turn off your camera. You need to. I'm telling him no, and even more reason for me to have it is because you're here. You're right here, and I'm gonna have my camera. Well, I understand that I'm not trying to record somebody else's circumstance in the hospital. I'm trying to record mine because there's a circumstance that doctors can't figure out. I've been suffering from over about a year and a half, almost 2 years. I end up in the hospital. My lipase levels go through the roof. My pancreas is fine. Nobody can figure out what's wrong with me. But I do need hospital treatment and fluids in order to bring my lipase levels down. This officer, after telling me that he's going to turn off the recording, I explained to him, no, you're not going to touch my property. First and Fourth Amendment here. You have no reason to be here. The officer goes, no, I'm going to do what I want to do, and he goes to go towards my property, and I just sat up in the bed, and I said, no, you're not going to touch my property. And then he reached around and grabbed my shoulder, and he said, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct, and tried to put my arm behind my back while I got IVs and stuff attached to me, and this officer's trying to drag me off the bed. It's the other officer grabs my other arm, and they try to put my arms behind my back, and I'm like into panic mode at that point. My PTSD went so through the roof that I had to protect myself. I grabbed, I don't know where I got the strength, but I got my legs over, and I stood straight up, and I just pushed my arms away from myself, which pushed them away from me, and I went to the corner where my personal nurse, who I need help at home. I'm disabled mentally, and I'm disabled physically, and I need a nurse to help me. So I grab a hold of her, and I'm holding her, and I'm saying, please help me, please help me, please help me, please help me. I'm being attacked, and after that, this guy pulls out his taser, and he says, if you don't stop, I'm going to tase you. And I look at him, and I go, I'm not a threat to you or anybody else here. Why are you trying to escalate this to a use of force? What is your explanation for this? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm in the hospital. And the people, I'm not sure who grabbed my nurse from me, but she was dragged out of the room. And that's when I was tased. And instead of hitting the ground, I went and tried to grab it. I went like this to wrap around it and just to pull it out of me. And it felt like 1,000 needles going all through my arm. I don't know. I couldn't get a hold of it. And at that point, the officer came running in, punching the sides of me, like bam, like and then the other one grabbed me by the back of my head as I'm going down, and they just pushed me straight to the floor and right on my head. At that point, they put handcuffs on me the wrong way so that it would do damage, and then put me back into the hospital bed, or a chair sitting next to the hospital bed. That's where my nurse was. I was in the chair. And I sat down, and I'm like, can you please at least take the cuff and fix it? You can keep the cuffs on, just fix the cuffs. You're hurting me. Eventually, my doctor or some doctor comes in, and he just grabs a hold of the two officers and drags them out, saying, what the hell is wrong with you? You're tasing a patient? And that's when they were dragged out of the room.
All right, guys, that's Trent on Great Lakes. That's all for today. There is more to come. The St. Bernard's is not over. There's more to that still. The police reports, we're going to go over those because there are some differences. We've also got, I called her Barbara earlier. I apologize, Brenda. We have her statement as well. Plus, we have a written statement by Trent. So we have both their written statements that we're going to go over. We're going to go over the Sergeant Mike Lawrence's statement, which does not match Deputy Mandy McDaniel's. Some differences. So guys, there's more to come. There's another hospital with another doctor officer. We have a doctor officer out in San Luis Obispo, California, and we have a doctor officer in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So take care of yourself and each other. Merry, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, holidays.